What's going on YouTube? I am Marcellus J, and today we're back at it again with another tutorial video. So for this video we're going to be making a simple jump pad with the animation to go along with it. Let's go ahead and dive in. So for this project what we're going to do is make sure you have your project open, and for the animations I already have the animation that we're going to be using. I'll link uh, I'll link it down in the description below. These animations are free. They're from the Paragon collection, which you could be able to get off of Fab. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first things first is that we're going to want to create a blueprint for our jump pad. So you go to actor, and we are going to name this BP underscore jump pad. There we go. All right. So once we have our jump pad, go ahead, open this up. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in a static mesh. So add in our static mesh, and we are going to grab a cylinder. So once we have our cylinder, we're going to go ahead and scale it. And we're going to bring it down to about right there. And then we're going to scale it on its X and Y just to bring it up just a bit. There we go. And that looks about good. So once we have that right there, go ahead, compile it, and then we are going to give it a material. So let's go ahead and go with black material. So this clear coat black looks pretty nice. It works just fine. So once we have that, then we're going to go and add in another static mesh, and this one is going to be a cylinder as well. And this one we're going to scale it down, and what we want to do is we want to scale it so that way it's going to barely come out. So like once we scale it down, we're gonna raise it up just a smidge, just a little bit. See, so that way it's barely sticking out of the base. So this is going to be the base, and this is going to be the area where the trigger happens. So once we have that, then we could go ahead and scale this, make it a little bit bigger. Yep, that looks about good right there. All right, compile that, and then we're going to change this material. There's a material that I have seen and I actually pretty like. It's a mirror plane material. So go ahead, add it on and give it a nice little feel to it. All right. So once we have that material, the last thing that we are going to need for this, we're going to add in, um, and this is going to be a collision. So we're going to add in a sphere collision. All right. So once we have that added in, actually we're going to take this sphere collision. Yeah. And let's go ahead and scale it up. And we want it to just barely touch the edge of the green, of this green area. So that way it'll only trigger once you're inside of there. All right, so once we have that, we are good to go. This is going to be our jump pad. So as you can see now, we can go ahead and drag this in, and you see it is without the functionality, but we are about to get to that right now. So let's go ahead and jump back into our jump pad, head over to our event graph, and we actually don't need any of these, so we can go ahead and get rid of those. And then what we are going to do is we're going to click on the sphere, and then we're going to head down to on component begin overlap. So once we get to here, we drag off of the other actor, and we are going to use a equal, and then we're going to, from the equal, we're going to get player character. All right, so we have that, and then we will branch that. So if it is the player character that is overlapping, then we want to go ahead and perform our function. So off of the off of true, what we are going to do is we're going to have a sequence. So there's going to be a few things that we're going to add into it. So that's why we're going to use a sequence to make sure that everything, all the code runs through smoothly. So off of the then zero, what we are going to do is off of the get player character, we're going to drag off and launch character. So we'll go ahead and drag that in, clean this up a little bit. All right, so we're going to launch the character, and we're going to actually promote the launch velocity to a variable, and we are going to open it to make it instance editable. All right. So what this is going to allow us to do is to be able to customize like each jump pad with its own. If you want to change the launch distance, the launch height of each jump pad, you could be able to do that separately. So we're going to give it a default value of, let's go with 1750 for now. See how that works. All right. So let's see if this is actually working. So we go ahead and compile that, go into it, and let's see. Here you go. So as you can see, it does launch the character. All right. So it is working. So let's go ahead and go into it, and we're gonna add a little bit more functionality to it. So off of the then zero, what we're actually gonna do. So let's go ahead and move this up a little bit. And then off of the zero, what we're going to do is we're going to make a timeline. All right. So once we're into our timeline, we're going to set the length of the timeline to 0.3. Yep. Let's go with 0.3. So we're going to set the timeline to 0.3, add a float track, and okay, add a float track, and then set to 0.3. There we go. Now we're going to add in three keys. So right click, add in your key, right click, add in the second one, and then right click, add in your third one. So your first one is going to be time of 0, value of 0. The second one, let's go ahead and make the time 0.6. And no, not 0.6. That's way too far. Actually 0.06. There we go. So 0.06, and we're going to give this one a value of 1. And then the last one is going to be zero point 0.3, and we're going to give this back a value of 0, like that. So once you have your 3 points, we're going to select all three, right click, and then we're going to auto, so that way it gives it a more smoother transition when it goes through. So that's it for the timeline. Let's go ahead and compile that, go back into our event graph. And then from here, we are going to get our static mesh for the center of the jump pad. and we are going to set relative location. All right, so once we set the relative location, make sure you go into the update. And then from here, we are actually going to split the struct of the new location. And then off of the track, we are going to grab our lerp. So you want to make sure that once you grab the lerp, that you actually take it off of the A, and we're going to set it into the alpha. Now for the A is going to be the starting position of the static mesh. So you'll want to go select your static mesh, go into the location, and since we're only worried about the Z of it, so you want to grab that location. So it's 32. So we'll go ahead and put 32 in, and that'll be where it starts off at. And then we could, let's say 500 for right now. See how that looks. And then we'll plug this into our Z. All right. So now once we have that, what we're going to do is we're actually going to change the material so that way to give solid player feedback for it. So so we're gonna add a second another pin, and then off of then we're gonna go ahead and drag down. Well, actually, off of the static mesh. Let's go ahead and grab the static mesh first, and then off of the static mesh, what we are going to do is set material. All right. Then once we have that, we go ahead and connect that in. And then we're going to select the new material that it will change to. So let's go with just a plain green. All right. So from there, what we're going to want to do from there is set up a delay. And then your delay is going to be the same time as your timeline. So let's set it to 0.3. And then once it's complete, we're going to drag off of the static mesh again and set the material. And we're going to set the material back to the original material for this mesh, which was the mirror plane material. All right. So now with this, what we should be doing is off of on the begin overlap, we get the player character, and then we will launch the character. Oh, and then make sure that you do the Z override to make sure that there is no funny business going on with this. All right, so we'll launch the character. Once the character is launched, it'll play the timeline to move the static mesh up. So it's gonna give it a nice bounce effect and return back down. And then we're setting the mesh to change colors, and then after the delay, it goes back to its original color. So let's go ahead and jump in and see how that looks. So we have it, and there you go. So if we want to give it more of a push, we could just go ahead and increase this height. So let's increase it to, let's try 2000. See how that looks. All right. So now go on to it. So it is moving up, but barely. So let's go ahead and increase it just more. So since it wasn't increasing by too much, let's actually go ahead and bring this up to 5,000 and see how that works. There we go. So as you can see, it go ahead and jumps and it moves up. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have an animation to go along with this, right? So what we're going to do is off of the player character. So before we do that, actually, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and go into our animation. And as you can see, we have our jumping animation right here. And this is the animation that we're going to be using for this. So go ahead and clear out of that. And then what we're going to do is grab the animation, right click onto it, and we're going to create a anim montage. Um, and we could go ahead and leave it named the same, like Launchpad montage. And then once we have our montage, now we could be able to go back into our jump pad graph, and then off of player character, what we are going to do is grab. So we're going to get mesh. So this is getting the mesh of the character. And then from here, we're going to drag over and do play montage. Now, once we have that in, we're going to select the montage to play. So let's go ahead and move this down. Go ahead, make sure that we are keeping our code clean. Go ahead, put that there. This will help it out a little bit better. And let's move that so to there. There we go. That looks a lot better. All right, and let's bring that up there. There we go. So now we have our montage to play. So we are going to go in and choose the montage that we had selected. And then you want to make sure that it's check marked that should stop all animations. All right, so once it's in, now we should be able to have an animation whenever we hit this particular whenever we hit the jump pad. And there you go. So as you can see, now we have an animation. We have a nice little falling animation to go along with the jump pad, and it is working great. Let's see if there anything else that looks like that is it. So let's recap to go over what we did. So off of the component begin overlap, we get the player character, and from the player character, we launch the character. And like I said, that we have our launch velocity right here. So since this is instance editable, whenever we come into it, we could be able to change it up from right here. So any other jump pad that we put into the level, so let's go ahead and put in a different jump pad, and we could be able to change this jump height to whatever we want. So if we want to give him even more of a jump boost, give that one to 3,000, hit play, and then we come over to our second one, and that is a nice jump. And then the fall. There you go. So as you can see, everything is working. Everything is working good. And yeah, that looks like that'll be about it. So make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you like the content that I'm doing. I know I'm still new at this, but I will be getting better with your support. All right. See y'all later.